This is the ignition lock cylinder from a 1999 BMW E39 5 Series. I'm experiencing a little bit of trouble with this lock cylinder, and I wanted to demonstrate what I believe to be the problem, or a problem, with this particular cylinder. I don't know if many of you have experienced this or may experience this in the future. It may be helpful. But the issue is primarily that the key is not going into the lock cylinder. It's jamming. I know there are others who have had the opposite problem, whereby once the key is inserted, they aren't unable to remove the key or even turn the key. But in my case, the key itself is being somehow prevented from going into the lock, into the cylinder here. I believe what is the source of this problem is this white, oddly shaped mechanism here on the side of this ignition switch, and on the side of this lock cylinder. If this switch is pushed in like so, there appears in the lock cylinder a type of a gate, almost a flap that opens like this. I don't know what the purpose of this flap or gate is inside this lock cylinder. It may be to help deter theft by preventing somebody from using a screwdriver to turn the lock. I don't know. But what I do know is it prevents the key from going in to the cylinder if it does not operate correctly. And now see, this white mechanism has been released, and now the key turns freely in the cylinder and is allowed to be inserted into the cylinder. So once again, with this white mechanism depressed, the key now doesn't want to go into the cylinder. You have to fight with it, and it just sticks in, and that won't even let the key go. It's very frustrating. If for some reason you cannot get this white mechanism to release, you could also use a small screwdriver and insert it here to release it, like so. Now the key goes right in. It's my assumption that this mechanism here operates in conjunction with the steering wheel lock mechanism underneath the column, and when the ignition switch is returned to the off position and extracted, the mechanism under the column pushes this switch in to activate this gate. And normally it shouldn't be an issue when inserting your key, but if it jams or sticks like it's doing in my case, the key, this time the key went right in. It can be an intermittent problem as well. The only solution that I can see to this problem is to bypass this switch mechanism here by simply taking a saw or a Dremel tool and cutting off this white plastic mechanism here, so that the corresponding part in the steering column will never depress this white piece. The other option, or the one solution that people may suggest is, well, why don't you try lubing this mechanism? I've already done so. I've lubed it extensively, and it makes absolutely no difference. So I'm not sure how to bypass this mechanism other than to cut this off, thereby completely defeating the mechanism's purpose. These lock cylinders are no longer available from BMW dealerships. Otherwise, I would simply call my local dealership and order a replacement. But now we're forced to service these cylinders ourselves. Otherwise, we will be locked out of our cars. So this is a proposed solution, and I might try this here very soon and update you on what the outcome was, but I don't know of any other way to bypass this white mechanical switch or whatever it is.
I eventually got the courage to cut off that white switch with a handheld trim saw, as you can see in the image here, and it worked beautifully, cutting it off completely flush with the back of the cylinder. I then reinstalled it back in the car, and I'm happy to report complete success. The key functions normally, starts the car, the key no longer jams in the mechanism. So I think this is a viable solution. This lock cylinder is a sealed unit, or at least appears to be so, and doesn't look to be serviceable in any other way. This is significant because the lock cylinder is no longer available as a new part from the BMW dealerships, and so owners will be forced to either service these themselves or forced to buy used replacements off of eBay with matching keys. But in that case, you would have to buy or rekey your door lock or trunk lock to match. So this is a potential problem for many BMW owners.